3, 2, 1.
Very glad to be in Los Angeles right now as an art major, as an artist.
Thank you. This evening, on the eve of Anzac Day, I'm overjoyed to be launching the international release of Double War, Shaun Gladwell, Visual Culture, and the Wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, published by one of the world's great publishers, Thames and Hudson, Australia. I would firstly like to give some thanks to a number of people and organizations here. To Gene Sherman and the Sherman Contemporary Art Foundation for hosting this evening's conversation and the book launch, and for the support that they've given Shaun Gladwell's work over many years. And I think, Gene, you did an amazing job with the conversation tonight. Thanks to the University of Newcastle, who supported Dr. Kit Messham-Muir's research during the writing of this tremendous book. I'd also like to thank Dr. Brendan Nilsson, Director of the Australian War Memorial, as well as Warwick Hayward, Curator of Art at the Australian War Memorial. I'm not sure if there are any Australian servicemen or women in the audience, certainly none in uniform, but I would like to acknowledge the tremendous effort our service people make, and certainly Shaun really felt engaged with our tremendous service people. I'd also like to finally thank Peter Fay, who's in the audience. Peter really was instrumental in launching Shaun's artistic career. So, Peter, thanks for coming up from Tasmania. And also, it's Peter's birthday today, so happy birthday. The author of Double War, Kit Messham-Muir, is an art historian, theorist, and critic based at the University of Newcastle. He publishes regularly in the online international magazine The Conversation, and his online StudioCrasher video series has a very strong following, and I'd encourage you all to look at it. He's published his research in many journals and art magazines over the last 25 years, and Double War is Kit's first published book. Double War is already attracting critical praise and attention. Ryan Johnson, head of art at the Australian War Memorial, says, Shaun Gladwell is one of Australia's most prominent and successful contemporary artists, and the opportunity to consider his work in this degree of monographic detail is both welcome and long overdue. Vivian Jabri, Professor of International Politics in the Department of War Studies at King's College in London, has written that Double War is one of the most significant and original interpretations of the space and time of war. The book manages to capture the war as lived experience in all moments of crisis, as well as its most routine aspects. Double War is the result of a 5-year collaboration between Shaun and Kit. Their association goes back much longer, almost 2 decades. They were both undergraduates in the painting studio at Sydney College of Arts in the early 1990s. And during his honorary year, Shaun asked Kit to read over and give feedback on his honors paper. At the time, Shaun offered Kit either $100 cash or one of his paintings. Kit is still kicking himself for taking the money and not the artwork. Then in the late 1990s, they were both postgraduates at the University of New South Wales Art and Design, then COFA. At that point, Shaun was engaged in his earliest experiments in video, and Kit was completing his PhD on the political conflicts surrounding abject art in America and Australia. Kit wrote the catalogue essay for Shaun's first solo exhibition at Artspace in Sydney in 2000, as we heard earlier, and has written several other catalogue texts for Shaun's work over the years. They most recently collaborated with Paul Patton and Dennis Swaits on Shaun's first semiotique book, which is in the exhibition upstairs. Kit's research as an academic at the University of Newcastle focuses on the interpretation of conflict in art and the museum, as well as investigating art practice. Put simply, he looks at what artists actually do in their studios when they're developing their ideas long before the finished work is finally exhibited. So when Shaun told Kit in 2009 that he'd just been commissioned as Australia's next official war artist, they both saw a great opportunity to work together on their most significant project to date, Double War. I well remember the day that Shaun was advised of his commission and the trepidation of going into a war zone, and Shaun talked to me at quite some length about that and his emotions. Shaun's family have a tradition of military service, with his dad serving in Vietnam, and Shaun has great admiration of that. This book is the result of many interviews with Shaun over the time that he was developing his official war artist work. It gives a context and insight into the thinking behind Shaun's work and is the first sustained art theoretical investigation into one of Australia's most significant and contemporary artists. At a time when the double wars of Iraq and Afghanistan have now concluded, and when the world is dealing with the aftermath, with the rise of ISIS and their high-quality stage-managed videos, this book comes at a moment in which it's timely to reflect on the paradigm shift that took place in our image culture during the War on Terror. The launch this evening of Double War also coincides with the eve of the 100th anniversary of the Battle of Gallipoli, a time when we consider the role of war in building Australia's image of itself as a great nation. Shaun's work as an official war artist is now beginning to be known internationally. For example, featuring on the cover of this month's edition of the New York-based art magazine Art News. Double War now provides some nuanced and critical context for this body of work, which will continue to raise questions about how images of war and conflict figure in our visual culture. It gives me great pleasure to officially launch this book this evening, Kit Messham-Muir, Double War, Shaun Gladwell, Visual Culture and the Wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Thank you.
Okay, guys, we're going to start. So as soon as the people at the back get settled, isn't it lovely to see such a wonderful crowd? Just let one or two people get settled. Are there chairs for everyone, sir? Yeah, good. Well, I think we've got a full house with one or two people perched on the bookcases at the end. For those who don't know me, I don't feel as I know everyone in the audience. Sometimes I do, but perhaps not tonight. I'm Gene Sherman, and we're here towards the end of Shaun Gladwell's double-side show. It closes on Saturday, but still is open on Saturday. Some people feel we shouldn't have been open on Anzac Day. You can't please everybody, is all I can say. This show is about war. It is about service in perhaps an ambiguous way to one's country. It is about flight, and it does relate to Anzacs, and also we wanted to finish the show on a Saturday. So for those of you who are concerned about Saturday us being open, really I feel very comfortable with it, and I hope you'll tell people to come, because it will be the last opportunity for both venues. I wanted to just give you a little framework for these talks generally. SCAF, the foundation, operates... Thank you. Thanks so much. We do 3 to 4 major projects a year. It's funded by the Sherman family. We have a wonderful group of patron circle supporters, 15 of them, which is the cap. We don't take any more, not because we don't want people, but because we want to look after them in a very special way, and we don't have the staff resources to look after hundreds of people, or even a couple of dozen people. So SCAF is largely funded by the family with some wonderful help. The Nelson Mears Foundation helps us by half funding the Culture and Ideas series, of which group this is one. And I'd say we do probably at least 1 a week, sometimes 2 a week. It's quite an active program. We deliberately keep it small. The room holds 60 people, which I think is what we've got tonight. We have been known to fit in 70, and I suspect we're somewhere between 60 and 70 this evening. So this is our maximum, and we prefer to keep it that way. So we keep it focused on specific things, Asia Pacific and Australia, which of course fits within that framework, small groups, a small patron circle group, one sponsor that helps us with the Culture and Ideas, for which we're enormously grateful. And before I start off, I'm going to hardly do any talking after this. I'm going to simply prompt Kit, Dr. Kit Messham-Muir on my right, who is the writer and author of this amazingly good, and I say this with all sincerity, I never have a book launch or any event here where I haven't thoroughly investigated the material, and in a book launch that means you have to read the book, so that's what I've done. You know, some people read the beginning and the end, and I don't. I read the whole thing, and I can tell you it's absolutely worth reading. It is a very serious study of art and war and of Shaun's place within that spectrum. Shaun Gladwell, the man of the moment, the sort of hero of Australian art, is on my left. And sitting in the second row, just one behind this row on my right, is Simon Mordant, who will launch the book once this conversation is over, who's off to Venice tomorrow. I think we can safely say that Simon has probably made the greatest contribution to Australian visual cultural life of anybody in the last, 50 years or something, because without Simon, the MCA would have foundered. There was, a great need for that second wing, which doubled the space. And without Simon, I cannot see how the Venice Biennale Australian Pavilion could have got going in its second incarnation. I mean, everybody tried and nobody took it on the way Simon did, and Simon is not someone who likes failure, none of us do, but he definitely aims for success, and he is deliberate and dogged and persevering to the point where there's no escape. So he's got it done. I haven't seen it. I'll be at the Biennale in September, but a number of you are going, and I think it is a great moment for Australia. So I think before we start, we applaud Kit, Shaun, whose double show is here, Kit, whose book, Simon, who has funded this book, and Brian, who funds the whole of SCAF. And there are a few members of our patron circle here. The Jameses are here, I see. I don't really see anybody else, but they are regular visitors to the gallery. And to Sam Mears, who's not here today, I'm having lunch with her tomorrow, and to our patron circle, thank you so much. Now, I'm not going to introduce in the formal way. What I'm going to do is start off with a question to Kit, saying, how did he come to write this book? And what was the sort of point de départ? How did you come to Shaun's work, Kit, and how did you come to think of writing a full publication, which is a big commitment?
This is ancient history, isn't it?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, going way back, Shaun and I were at Sydney College of the Arts together. He was in the year just behind me, and when I remember when Shaun was doing his honours paper, Shaun asked me to read over that, and then very first show that he had, which was first solo show that he had, which was in Art Space in 2000. Yep. You asked me to do the catalogue essay.
Oh.
So I've done the catalogue. I've done several catalogue essays over the years, and then back in 2009. This makes it sound like real hiddenness, I suppose. Shaun was having a party in his studio.
Nothing wrong with that.
He's the only one.
I have to mention, I've got to say, it was a much more luxurious studio in Sydney than he has in London at the moment, which has no heating. And he happened to mention that he'd just been chosen, Warwick is at the back, he'd just been chosen by the Australian War Memorial to be the next official war artist, which I just looked at that opportunity straight away and I thought, fantastic. I had wanted to write a book about Shaun's work. I think the first time we mentioned it was about 2005, and this was now 2009. So I saw that as being a fantastic opportunity. I'm an academic, so I had to then seek ethics approval to interview Shaun, which took 3 months, in which time Shaun had the much more difficult task of going to Afghanistan and the Middle East. And then throughout 2010, we did lots and lots of interviews. I think we did about 6 hours of interviews, and I had a research assistant who had to sit through those and transcribe them in between me and Shaun eating olives.
Another party.
I'm taking the wrong picture here. And this was also around about the time that Shaun was also moving to London.
So put a date on that.
That was mid-2010?
Yeah.
So I got a sabbatical during 2011 from the University of Newcastle, which helped me write this book. So I did a lot of travel to visit Shaun, and it was an incredible moment as well within the story that I was writing, because it was also right in the midst of this was when Osama bin Laden was killed by the US Navy SEALs. So that was, one of these kind of pivotal moments that happened during the research. But it was one of those things where the research actually kind of unfolded as I was writing on it. And also Shaun you've continued actually making work on this.
Still at it, yeah.
Well, I think that's a comprehensive answer. It's really a 15-year project when you think about it, and often when people used to say to me in the selling days, when I had the commercial gallery, how long did the artist take to do that? The answer is a lifetime, really, because you don't just come to something, it percolates.